The Stanley Cup. Wait, no. The Stanley Cup. TikTok's newest obsession. I can't be the only one wondering why and how the Stanley Cups became one of the biggest trends on TikTok over the past year, especially because they look like overgrown sippy cups. If you haven't heard of Stanley Cups somehow, no, it is not the NHL trophy. They are a range of reusable water bottles that went viral on TikTok last year, and the way I would describe them in one word is American. And I may be wrong here, but I'm from Australia and I have not seen a single person here with a Stanley. But correct me if I'm wrong. The whole Stanley obsession is ridiculous, so let's get into it. The overconsumption. When you think of reusable water bottles, you may think exactly that. They're reusable. So you only really need 1, 2, maybe 3, right? Right? The absurdity of owning 10 or 20 Stanley Cups is just ridiculous to me. When would you ever need that many reusable, and I stress, reusable water bottles? It's like having not 1, but 30 backpacks, 1 for each day of the month, of course. Do people not understand the idea of using a reusable water bottle and reusing it so you don't have to use single-use plastic water bottles? Wait, no, don't do that. What are you doing?
That is so unbelievably wasteful if you live in an area where you have safe drinking water to fill up your taps. You could even have a filtered water bottle or like a filter to pour your water into your water bottle, but no.
And if you thought the overconsumption stopped there, if having 30 Stanleys wasn't enough, there are accessories that people buy for their Stanleys. Backpacks for your Stanley, food trays that can fit on your Stanley, straw covers, keychains, Stanley holders for your cart. The list is endless. There's a whole side of TikTok when people getting their Stanley ready for the day. Marie Kondo is stressing right now. Okay, so people don't actually want them to save using plastic water bottles. So what do they want them for? Social currency. The Stanley Cup is the newest fashionable water bottle. Before it Yetis, before that were Hydro Flasks, and before that Camelback, and so on. Water bottles now act as a way of showing your class. Well, supposedly. Wait, your mum bought you a perfectly fine usable water bottle, but it's not in the shape of an overgrown sippy cup?
You can't sit with us.
There are lots of stories about parents buying their child a water bottle that wasn't a Stanley, and their kid being so mercilessly bullied for a water bottle. I know kids are mean, but seriously, that is getting out of hand.
This is the cup that we got our daughter for Christmas. This is not a Stanley. This is a $9.98 Walmart cup that she said she thought was cute. She is 9 years old. On the second day back to school after Christmas break, she comes home. She's not crying. She's just upset. The girls all got Stanleys for Christmas, and they made sure to let her know that this is not a real Stanley, that this is fake, and it's not as cool. So she comes home. She's upset. She asks if she can have a real Stanley. Do I think that a 9-year-old needs a Stanley? No. Do I have one? Yes, I have one. So we went and bought her a 30-ounce Stanley. In our area, at our local Ace Hardware, these are $35. This doesn't start with the kids. This starts with us. This starts with parents, with mom.
This is ridiculous, and I feel so bad for this mum and kid. And she's right, it starts with the parents as well, not just the kids. No child ever needs a $40 water bottle because chances are they'll probably lose it. Water bottles are water bottles. As long as they hold water, that's all you need. And people go so crazy for these water bottles. If you haven't seen the Target stampedes, have a look at this video. There were people lining up outside of Target like they were camping out for the new iPhone so that they could get the newest Stanley Cup being released. Then people literally sprinted through Target to get these. And I can start to understand why after this happened when someone's car caught on fire and the only thing left intact was the Stanley Cup. And there was still ice inside. Stanley actually offered to buy her a new car as a one-time deal, and I don't blame them because she just gave them the best free advertising ever. Honestly, that is very impressive. Okay, so they can withstand a fire, so surely there's nothing wrong with them then. The controversies. The Stanley water bottles have had a few public controversies. A smaller one is the fact that their water bottle just leaks as soon as you turn them over. Except Stanley hasn't found a solution to this. Other companies have. That's when you know you have a quality product. And this next one is not so much of Stanley's product problem, but people who own Stanleys have been exposing themselves with the fact that they don't clean their water bottles. I'm sorry, what?
Once every month maybe, and I'll hand wash it, and typically I just have water in here.
once a month, you should be washing your water bottle every day, like every time you use it. Please don't wait a month to clean your water bottles, ever. Okay, the biggest controversy that has recently come out is the fact that Stanley used lead to manufacture their water bottles. Stanley have come out and said that consumers should be relatively safe provided that their Stanleys suffer no damage. That fills me with so much confidence. This lead saga was first discovered by Tamara Rubin, who found that her broken Stanley contained lead, and this led to more and more people testing their Stanleys and more results for lead turning up. Stanley had to issue a statement saying, "Our manufacturing process currently employs the use of an industry-standard pellet to seal the vacuum insulation. The sealing material includes some lead. Once sealed, this area is covered with a durable stainless steel layer, which makes it inaccessible to consumers." Okay, if it is safe for the consumer, then it shouldn't be a problem, so why are people concerned about it? Well, for there to be lead in the product, there has to be a step for the manufacturing where lead is used, which means that workers who are putting these things together have a risk of lead exposure. And lead poisoning is historically not very good for you. Who knows what will happen to these water bottles when they inevitably end up in landfill in a few years? What happens to the lead then? If you don't want lead poisoning, or you don't want to contribute to that in the future, Hydro Flasks, among other brands, have guaranteed that they don't use lead in their water bottles. They have definitely been loving the Stanley slander. So as I see it, Stanleys aren't worth the hype, especially if they are known to contain lead when most of their competitors don't. But let me know if you feel any differently.